I'll just fire up the old dust collector. What? Alright, so obviously the switch failed on my dust collector, and I thought I'm gonna replace it. I got a new one under warranty. I'm gonna show you my dust collection setup real quick. I'll show you this little dust collector and why I think that if you don't have a dust collector in your shop, it is a very, very strong recommendation to get one. Real quickly, the setup is not anything super exciting. I've got my belt grinder, my disc grinder, and then the hoses. So this one here is not permanently mounted. When I need it, I've got this little setup right here, and I can put a screw in there to bolt it into position. When I'm grinding metal, the stool goes there, the water bucket goes on the stool, and then this thing just stores like that. When I first got my dust collector, I was doing some videos, and I think I showed it or something, and I was actually grinding my metal dust with, you know, the dust collector. I was grinding straight into it. I wasn't using a water bucket. I had the water bucket to the side for dipping into. One of the comments in the comments section, a couple of them said, I wouldn't do that. You're gonna start a fire in your dust collector. I'm like, nah, it'll never happen. I had some wood in there, and then I was grinding, and sure enough, you know, the spark ignited the bag. And it was funny because I should have actually put the footage in the video. On the camera, I was grinding, and all of a sudden you could see smoke coming up. This sucker just lit right up. It's actually positioned over here more, which is good. It didn't like melt any of the door or anything. But I had thought, you know what, I've got long lengths of hose. That's gonna be enough to extinguish the spark. Oh no, it's not. That's what happens when I grind metal. I use the bucket, and for the wood, I use that. And essentially, this is just like a little adapter thing, so I can just pop it on right here. I've got the blast gates to isolate the grinders. And then what I've also done is on my sandblast cabinet, and this is, I think, critical. I just cut a little hole in here, mounted a flange. So again, this thing just goes right onto there, and boom. I can sandblast in here dust-free. It's amazing. Now, we're gonna replace this switch. I was glad it was just a switch. I was worried it might have been the capacitor. So for the interim, I actually just kind of jumpered it out in there. Not safe, don't do that. And then I'm gonna show you one little feature about this one that I really like, and something just to keep in mind if you're gonna get a dust collector. So this is a Craftex CX414. They don't make this one anymore. This was cheap. Like, I paid 200 bucks brand new for this thing, and I've had it for 2 years. It's got a 3-year warranty. That switch was under warranty, so I just called them up. They ordered a new one in for me, so that was great. Let me just show you. Actually, first let's fix this. Okay, it just goes without saying, always be careful when you're working with this stuff. Sometimes these capacitors can hold their charge. You need to discharge them. Look up how to do that, but definitely know this thing stores a good jolt of electricity to help get this motor started. So here's the little shady fix that I did. We've got electrical tape everywhere. And basically this switch had these spade connectors on it, and I didn't want to cut anything, so I didn't want to have to put new spade connectors on. So I just kind of took these other wires, well, there you go. I kind of slipped it into the spade connector and then taped it, hoping for the best. And it kind of sort of worked. Actually, it did work. I didn't have a switch. I just had to plug the cord in, but it kept me going for a couple of weeks while the switch came in. And I know I probably could have just gone to some place and bought a switch, but whatever. I put some wires in here and it worked, right? And I don't want to be running around the city for parts. Let them bring it in for me, and then I just go pick it up. So here's the old switch, and the one thing that tipped me off that made me think maybe it was the switch is that this one terminal is a completely different color. And it wasn't meant to be like that, because these are all the same color. So I don't know what that is. It's not like it's burnt, it's not melted, there's no smell of, you know, that melted electronic smell, nothing like that, but it's just a completely different color. Is that kind of weird? I find that very odd. If you know maybe why that happened, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because this one's kind of, it was a head scratcher. I was looking at this switch, and you know, after I tested it, obviously I found out it was bad, but I was like, what the heck? Why is that one different? Anyways, this is the bad switch. They've got these little water covers on, or moisture covers, which is kind of cool. I saved this one because I didn't know if the new one would come with it, but I believe it does. Beauty. And the new switch has all even terminal colors. Now, which wire goes to which terminal again? I always take pictures of what I'm working on. It just pops in like that. So when I'm looking at my photo here, I've got the brown one right there. That was one that was on the corroded thingy. Looks like the black from the power cord goes there. And then the other black goes up here. And then the white from the power cord goes here. I hope. Let's plug it in and find out. Yes. Love having that back. The one thing you're going to want to think about when you get a dust collector, but I think all dust collectors have something like this, a little protection grate kind of a thing that goes into the opening, and that's just designed for really large chunks of wood. So if a big piece comes off whatever machine you're running this on, it's not going to get sucked up into the impeller and wreck something. Now the problem I find with this is that when I'm using this for my thickness planer, even though these holes are fairly decent sized, it plugs up. It just kind of plugs in there because we're taking off big shavings. A lot of times they'll rate the dust collector as to whether it can handle thickness planer or not. They said this one would, but I just find that it gets too clogged up. So what I like to do, so right now this is wide open because I was using this with my thickness planer. This is the impeller. But obviously, you know, if you got a big chunk of wood in there, that would probably be a bad thing. So when I'm not doing my thickness planer, especially when I'm sanding handles, because really, if I'm working on handles, I mean, when it falls, it goes straight down, and I don't want it to go whack right up into here without this guard in place. And I know on some of the cheap, inexpensive steel dust collectors, this little grate here is not removable. So I was looking at buying one of those, and when I see how often I take this out, I'm glad I got this one instead. So, you are a knife maker and you're wondering, is it worth it as a knife maker to have a dust collector? 2 years ago, I was in that exact same boat, and I can tell you from my experience, absolutely, it has been a complete game changer. Now, when I first considered getting a dust collector, the reason for that is that if I was going to park a vehicle in here, you know, I didn't want dust all over the place. The one thing I find is that metal dust is heavier than a lot of the wood dust, and I find the metal dust kind of falls close to the grinder. Don't see an awful lot of it towards this end, but the wood stuff and then the synthetic stuff, that stuff floats everywhere. And when you think about it too, I mean, the wood stuff is bad enough for you, but some of those synthetics, like if you're grinding G10 or carbon fiber, is nasty. That is not good stuff to be floating in the air. Even after you shut your grinder down, you dust yourself off, go walk around, there's still small little particles that floating around. And I know that running a dust collector doesn't completely get rid of that, but it does a pretty good job, enough to warrant, especially the cost. Like, it's like $200 for this dust collector. That's fairly reasonable, and I tell you, I love it. I use it when I'm doing any type of handle work and also leather work. When you're like grinding the sides of sheaths, really nice just to suck that leather away. And then Kydex too. I mean, Kydex has those real, when you grind it, I think it develops a little bit of a static charge, and that Kydex grindies, they just cling to your arms. It's disgusting. A little bit still does, but a lot of it gets sucked away with the dust collection. So when this thing stopped working 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh no. I was worried. I was almost to the point where it's like, I don't really have time right now to be dealing with this. Maybe I'm just gonna go and buy another one. But I thought, then I gotta throw this one in the garbage. Or if this one was running, then I've got two. What am I gonna do with two dust collectors? So I decided to look at the Switch. Glad it was a Switch. Glad to have my dust collector back. And if you've been considering one, honestly, I feel very confident saying that you will not regret buying one. We're gonna round out this video with a fun, quick little fact. Yesterday's video, when I was editing it, and even just being outside, it's kind of noisy. There's like rumble in the background. And that is because my neighbors are spreading crap. Literally, like manure. And they're doing it to an extent that I've never ever witnessed before. It's really nasty outside right now. Like it smells like a cesspool. It's disgusting. They've been bringing in all this manure all fall, like these rows of it. And now he's got 3 huge tractors with these huge manure spreaders, and they're just flinging dung, man. And there is crap going everywhere. And you know, some people that don't understand living rural, that's what it's about sometimes, especially if you live near a feedlot or something. Hopefully I can get a picture of these guys flinging crap everywhere. I want to say the SH word, but I probably shouldn't, but it just sounds better. My neighbors are just throwing all their shoes around. Anyways, yeah, so there, that's that. Anyways, we'll find some crap throwing, go on, and we'll end this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. Well, it's about right now that I realize this new low that I've stooped to on this channel, literally talking about and looking at poop. Ugh. What has happened?